Welcome to another edition of All Octaves with me, Val Kleinhans, where we chat music, whether it's with the fans who love it or the musicians who make it. Today, some musicians who make it. Helga is in the building. Kai is in the building, also as a part of the band. I'm stoked to have both of you here. Progressive metal band from the UK that I just started to get into. I found you guys on YouTube. People are talking about you on YouTube. I don't know if you know this, but there's a couple metal channels that are just love wrapped in mist right now. So I wanted to talk about all of that. I'm pleased to have both of you here. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah. Well, the first thing beginning is as good as place as any to start is, where does your love of music begin? How did you guys fall in love with music?
I think through a church, I think. Yeah, so my family used to go to church a lot, so that's one of my first memories, falling in love with the music, I think.
Yeah, for me, I mean, my family's always been like, lovers of music. So I've just always been surrounded by it and a passion for it. And so, I think picking up a guitar was like the natural progression of that.
Yeah, I love that. And how did you fall in love with your respective instruments? Because some of you play multiple instruments. Helga, I know you've got vocals on lock. How did you fall in love with the ones that you play now?
I think for me, as a vocalist, I think, yeah, still same answer really. Like fell in love with singing in choirs and stuff like that in school as well. I used to join the choir and we would sing a lot. But also I think because my mother plays the guitar and she sings and plays like different places, so I think that kind of inspired me to sort of do something similar thing. Yeah.
And I think, I have a pretty unoriginal, kind of origin story for playing the guitar. I just grew up loving, the Beatles and, kind of just, all sorts of rock bands and that sort of thing. And what, the most obvious instrument of that of rock music is a guitar. So I just naturally gravitated toward that.
Makes sense completely. Now, Helga, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the story is that you came to the UK from Sweden. Is that true?
Yeah, that's true.
What was that transition like?
The transition, it was both sad and exciting at the same time, because exciting that it's a new place and maybe somehow I'll meet new people that I'll get along with and stuff like that and play music with, which I'm in a band now and stuff like that. But yeah, it was also very sad because I was quite attached to the place I came from and stuff like just the way things were and how peaceful it was over there and living in the woods and how simple it was compared to living here in a sort of a city. Because where I came from, it was a very small, quite a small town, yeah.
And I know that you still, definitely have a passion for the country. You have a passion for Swedish folklore. We hear that on Wrapped in Mist. Talk to me about how you initially fell in love with it. How did you discover the folklore and why was it important to you to put that into your music?
I think because Dalarna, the region in Sweden, that's where I lived. It's quite, it has a strong folk tradition, like Swedish folk tradition, like folk music, and so that kind of made me curious about like digging deeper. So I thought, okay, so there's Swedish folk music, but what else is out there? Maybe there's like folklore and stuff like that. So that's where Nordic folklore came in and started reading about stuff like that. And also the musicians that I came across and started listening to that were kind of doing this sort of stuff, like, Vadruna and who else? Can't come up with it at the moment, but yeah. So they kind of talk about these things. So they kind of opened the doors to yeah, folklore and stuff.
Love it. Opeth is kind of one of the bands, one of the Swedish bands that comes to my mind when I think about folklore and progressive metal. I know that they're at least partially an influence on Wrapped in Mist. Who else have you been listening to? Who else have you been into lately?
Like bands?
Yeah.
Oh gosh, no, actually I haven't listened to a lot of bands. Maybe Siguros. Do you know Siguros from
No.
Oh yeah, they're Icelandic bands. I've been listening to their most recent release.
Mhm.
I think that's it. And then Crypta, you know, this
Yes, I've been hearing a lot about them.
yeah, death metal Brazilian band.
Yeah.
I'm not really into death metal that much, apart from like Opeth maybe. But when I discovered Crypta, I felt very curious because it's like all of them are girls, and
Yes.
it's just the music just spoke to me, you know. And I never thought that death metal would make me cry. So I actually cried like a few times listening to some of their songs. I was like, wow, this is so heavy, but why am I crying? Like, I was confused, but never mind.
No, that to me, that's what music should do. I mean, when you come together as a band, do you think about evoking an emotion and putting an emotion out there for people to listen to?
I think, yeah, I think that's at the forefront of our minds. I think the music that Helga and I both, resonate with the most is music that moves us. So I think that was always the goal with this record or any music that we put out. We want to evoke an emotional response in our listeners, and hopefully we've achieved that a little bit with this record.
Yeah, I think so, absolutely. And tell me about how did the band just come together in general? Because we're still learning about you, we're still meeting you, and we want to know the story.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, do you want to tell the story, Helga?
go for it. Go for it.
Okay, yeah, well, so Helga, as we mentioned, Helga moved to the UK back in 2019. At that point, she had released two records as a solo artist, two EPs, and she put an ad out on online, and a good friend of mine and longtime collaborator Cameron picked up, saw this ad, got speaking with Helga online, was very excited about it, spoke to me about it. I heard Helga's music that was released at the time, fell in love with it. I felt a serious case of FOMO, and basically moved mountains to introduce myself, perhaps a little forcefully, and the rest is history.
Helga, what was your first impression when you met everybody else? Were you like, this is going to work, I'm excited about this, or I don't know, it might take some time to see how this goes?
I think I was quite optimistic because I don't know, like that, there's this saying that, you have to believe in your art or before people start believing in it, stuff like
Yeah.
that. And that's how I felt, I felt like I truly believed in what I was doing at the time. I mean, I still believe in it, by the way. But yeah, when I met Cameron, for example, one of the other guitarists, I felt very comfortable with him. He felt like we're on the same wavelength, sort of thing. And but also nervous because had to meet different types of people, and that's not really, it doesn't come naturally to me, I don't tend to meet loads of people like all at once, but suddenly like I'm auditioning sort of thing. I'm auditioning
Yeah.
musicians, like I'm meeting all these, and like, so I thought I just felt like I'll do anything for music, I'll do anything, even if it's like out of my comfort zone, like I'll do it. But yeah, so I'm really glad that everything turned out well, and we're here now.
I love it. And tell me, for anybody that hasn't heard Wrapped in Mist before, give me a little synopsis of the album. What can we expect when we're listening to it? The goods. Tell me about the album.
Okay.
Yeah, so Wrapped in Mist. Wrapped in Mist is really sort of it's sort of a culmination of sort of everything Helga has been sort of working toward, I think, with her previous records. So perhaps a fairly useless thing to say if you're not familiar with those records. But yeah, no, you know, for example, the cover of the record is designed to look like that of an old book. And I think the record itself, sonically is a bit of a story, you know, and takes your listener on a journey. And hopefully there's many twists and turns in there, as we draw on, you know, a whole myriad of influences. The record rarely stays in one place stylistically for too long, and hopefully that is exciting for people. It certainly was for us to write it. So yeah, it's a real labor of love, and yeah, something we're really proud of.
Of course. And this is the first full-length album. Were there any challenges you came across while working on this? How did that go?
Yeah, I mean, sorry, go ahead, Helga.
Yeah, there certainly were challenges, especially at the time, because I think it was still like sort of COVID times.
Oh, okay. You wrote that in
No.
COVID. That is a challenge in itself.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so just that, you know, not being able to be, you know, to rehearse as often, or being in the same room, you know, being kind of restricted in a way. But yeah, there were certainly challenges.
I mean, what one sort of you know, I don't know, it was a challenge so much as, you know, we were originally writing what we thought at the time was an EP, and at this time, yeah, we had yet to sort of be sort of approached by Season of Mist or anything like that. So as we're starting to write this EP, it's around that time that Michael of Season of Mist reaches out to us. He wants to work with us, and he lets us know that it'll be an album we'll be making, not an EP. So that was a bit of a shock to the system. We were quite confidently getting on with an EP, but suddenly, no, this is a much bigger project. And so that was a bit of a shock, but yeah, no, it was you know, an amazing sort of challenge. It was the first, we've all been playing in bands and things for a long time, but this was the first, you know, full-length album any of us had put our minds to. So that was a challenge in and of itself. You know, also for Helga, I mean, Helga had previously worked as a solo artist, so I think it was probably a bit of a transition for her now that she has, you know, 4 bandmates, all with their own ideas and influences and so on. So, you know, I think it was a relatively sort of new and exciting challenge for all of us, and hopefully one that paid off.
Yeah. I would love to ask about that, Helga. Were there any differences for you going from solo to now I'm part of a band?
Oh yeah, like the most obvious one is like we're now 5.
Right.
Obviously 5 members, but like I don't know. Sure, it's like completely new. Like, you know, it's just took time getting used to, I guess, but it's not much of a problem in a way that, you know, it was like sort of torturing me or something like that, like bothering me. More like, you know, just took time to get used to, I suppose. And I'm still trying to get used to it still. Yeah.
Okay. Because you go from a period of I'm the only one making decisions now, everything's up to me now, and then now everything's a committee decision, and
Yeah,
everything is
like a
it's
fellowship of the
right,
ring.
right, right.
Yeah.
Totally understand that. So, I mean, the sound is I would call it progressive metal. How would you describe the overall sound of Helga? Is that fair to say?
I mean,
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
sorry, Helga.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say we'd kind of that kind of sounds about right. I know we had to come up with a somewhat distinguished genre for like press releases and stuff. So we landed on haunted ethereal progressive metal, whatever that means. But you know, progressive metal as a
so
shorthand works as well.
Yeah, I thought that was so funny. I was like, this is so verbose. It's like very, very long. But yeah.
Yeah, it seems like there's a subgenre for everything anymore.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, I think I
that's
was
okay.
fine with like ethereal progressive metal. I think it's I was fine with that.
You were fine with that. Got it. Well, as Helga moves forward as a project, musically, do you see yourself staying within that genre, or would you like to expand and try new things and different sounds? What does the future look like for Helga?
Um, I think for now, like, you know, we sound the way we do, and I think the world is our oyster. So I can't really say, I can't say if I'm going to sound very poppy tomorrow or on the next
Mhm.
album. No, I can't say that. But I think music is just so much fun to explore. So we don't really want to be pigeonholed, and we don't really want to just, you know, limit ourselves to like a certain genre. So that's what I can say.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, writing this record, we didn't start out with any sort of particular genre or style in mind. We just wrote what excited us, you know. And I think that's only going to continue on the next record. So we'll see what happens. You know, we have a love for progressive metal. We have a love for orchestral music. We have a love for trip hop and so on. So we'll just see what happens. As long as it excites us, that's the most important thing, really.
Yeah, that's what it should be. As the year goes on, what can fans get excited about? What can we look forward to? Anything new? What's in the oven, so to speak?
Yes, I mean, there's currently a lot of sort of discussions happening, a lot of you know, plans in the making at the minute. Nothing to announce right now, but hopefully a lot to announce very soon.
Yeah.
Oh, so is the best place to find that information social media, websites? I mean, I love, by the way, I was going to say this. I was talking to Instagram earlier, and the unboxing videos are so funny. Helga, I was laughing so hard because you didn't want to see yourself, and I was like, does seeing photos of yourself really make you that nervous?
Yeah, and I mean, wouldn't you feel the same way? I don't know about you, but like, if you suddenly see yourself, like a
Yeah.
printed photo of yourself, like a big one, like you'd be like, "Whoa,
Yeah.
what the heck?" You know, like what the heck? Like
Yeah.
just not normal. So I just felt so shocked, like seeing myself like that, and also, I mean, I don't like seeing myself like I don't, but yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
no, it would absolutely be a shock to me too. I mean, to see myself on a poster or something blown up to a
Yeah,
huge size,
yeah,
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 that is jarring at first, but
yeah, yeah,
it's also my project, and it's like, oh, there's the physical form. This is what I've been working so
yeah,
hard
of
for.
course.
That had to be overwhelming and exciting, I'm sure, when you first opened that up.
Yeah, definitely. Very, yeah, very happy, very exciting. I'm very proud. Yeah.
Cool. I love it. Well, I can't wait to see what's next. I thank you both so much for your time. We're looking forward to everything. Thank you.
Thank you
Well,
so
thanks so much for speaking with us.
much.